Come, let me get you something.
Nice intro. I love it. I love it.
That's from Mountain Sabers, man. So, yo, guys, welcome to Saber Talk Sunday. Mundo in the house and Darth Barras. Is that correct?
Darth Barris, 13.
Barris. Barris. My apologies.
Nah, it's all right. It's cool, man. You're good. You're good.
So, how long have you been in the Saber community?
Well, my first experience with collectible lightsabers was actually when I was little. I received a 2003 Master Replicas Darth Vader for Hanukkah, and
Mm-hmm.
but recently, as far as like the saber community recently, I would say about late 2023. I would say that's when I
Oh,
started revamping my collection. I got rid of all my ultra sabers, lightsabers. Yeah, I know. We all start somewhere, and
I get you.
I started with converting my old Master Replica sabers to Profi, and I started getting Xenopixel lightsabers, and now I have, I think, over 20 collectibles. And in fact, let me just briefly show on the wall here.
Wow.
Yeah, some of the spots are empty because I had to send some out because recently I also got some sabers from AliExpress, and one of them ended up short circuiting, and the soundboard nearly caught fire. So
Oh my God.
that was fun. um, but hey, when you buy sabers on AliExpress, you get what you pay for. So you never know when it's going to happen. But it's always good to check the wiring, make sure that it's secure, and possibly replace it, because considering Chinese manufacturers don't really have like solid wiring when they make
You
their.
know, and there's some companies out there that are the same way. I'm not dogging on anybody by no means.
No,
But
no,
the
of course.
thing
And
is, if you're going to be selling something to that matter, you need to be at least have some decent wiring where it's safe for people. I mean,
yeah,
because this is, oh,
yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry, give me a second.
no
Oh, okay.
problem.
Sorry, I have the YouTube page open where we're doing the interview, and just to see myself. So that'll probably be distracting, but whatever. But yeah, but
That,
look, but also not dogging on the manufacturers in China, because they do it like an assembly line process. So obviously there's gonna be mistakes every once in a while, and I can give them the benefit of the doubt for that. Just as
mhm.
long as the customer service isn't going to be shoddy, like, I mean, that sort of thing.
Right, absolutely. So let me just real quickly, Charlie, welcome, man. Have a good workout while you're listening. And then, what up, my friends? These guys are here every Sunday, man. So it's like they're family now. And so tonight's topic, man, is going to be, trouble with sound fonts. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to get any bad sound fonts or anything like that. But like, when you first get your saber, let's say you bought a brand new saber and you have fonts on it already, but you watch some videos and it's supposed to do this, it's supposed to do that. But when you turn it on and you try to do that font, you're not getting everything that you see on these videos. And so there could be some problems going on with the font itself. There could be going problems with the wiring. There could be problems with anything. Hey, Titan, welcome. There could be a whole different series of problems that are not associated with the Saber font itself, right?
Hmm.
And so tonight I want to highlight just some certain things that could be happening with the Saber font, why it's not functioning properly, what could be, it could be, the end user's fault, it could be the Saber maker's fault because they forgot to put something on there. I mean, there's no blame for anybody at all. There's just certain things that happen along the way that prevent a font from working properly. Excuse me. And so tonight I want to get into that discussion because when I'm doing the shows and stuff like that, more or less this is not for the pros. I mean I mean it's more or less for the newbies that really come in and they want watch the videos. They're wanting to know certain things, where to start, and something like that. But more importantly, and I always reiterate this every time I talk to a guest on the show, that I want it to feel like we're sitting at a table and we're talking about it and we're having a good time talking about it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And and man, I have to say, I am very honored that you came on the show tonight, man. I really appreciate it.
The honor, I'm honored. I mean, this is my first time doing something like this, so I mean, it's just incredible to have this opportunity. So thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now,
Um,
what experiences have you had in terms of sound fonts like not working properly? Was it, because you missed something? Maybe because um, you forgot to put something in there?
I think it's more along the well. First off, every sound font that I have gotten, that I have purchased or acquired, has been phenomenal in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
Just to list out some of the big font makers. There's Kyberphonics, there's
Mm-hmm.
KSith, Juansith on saberfonts.com, Mountain Sabers, and also Grayscale, who does incredible, like very crisp, like amazing sound bites.
Oh, absolutely.
Jay DeLorean, he also does a bunch of different sound, like custom sound fonts. Some of his earlier stuff, like for example, based off of um, what was it
The
from
nature sound.
Andor, yeah, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But ultimately, it when it comes to sound fonts, it all comes down to with the files itself. It comes to the naming of them, because
Mm-hmm.
if one like isn't properly named, or if there's one that's out of order, like number sequences, you'll get like a font directory not found, uh, which will happen. And usually that's with a boot or a font like sound, actually, like when you
Mm-hmm.
sound font, it turns on. But usually, I would say nowadays there hasn't been any like there hasn't been much issue, because usually the fonts that normally people would get to, like the companies that I mentioned, they are
Mm-hmm.
really on top of their game.
Mm-hmm. They really are. Like you said, now these days too is and when I was watching some other YouTube videos on some sound fonts and stuff, uh, and you see all of these how to put sound fonts onto your Saber. When I was looking at those, and I'm going to use the Golden Harvest for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because the excuse me, the Golden Harvest and the CFX are so closely in their naming system, it you can alternate between both of them. In the one dish, well, I think the one difference between the Golden Harvest and the CFX is the settings.txt file.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so um, I believe the CFX really doesn't have that settings file. It might have. I have to look again, but don't quote me on that. But I'll have to look more closely on it. But I know that Golden Harvest, anytime you put new fonts on your Saber, if that if that font does not have the settings txt file, then you have to make sure that you grab that txt file from another font that already has it and transfer it into that font for in order for it to work properly, along with naming it properly in the number system and what you name it. Right? Correct?
Well, I'm no expert with CFX or Golden Harvest. I usually I went from Xenopixel, from Nexus LGT sabers directly to Profi. So
Mm,
Profi is where I'm most. Uh, I'm still new with Profi, but I'm more uh, in touch with that than I am with the other
okay.
main parts. But speaking of Golden Harvest, I saw an update from Dark Wolf Sabers that they recently updated the firmware for the recent Golden Harvest 4 board. So
Mm,
if anyone out there who's watching this has a Golden Harvest 4 board, which is recently on the market, be sure to get that updated when you have the chance.
yeah, absolutely. And okay, so let's go ahead and I'm not very familiar with Profi hardly at all.
Okay.
Simply because I haven't done one.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and there's some people who've really done like uh Jedi Arms Dealer and Fet 263. I mean, they are geniuses when it comes to Profi stuff.
Yeah.
And
Fet263, Fernando Dosa, he has done. Oh, I probably am mispronouncing that name. If he sees this, please don't hurt. But when he has done some of the blade styles that he has created for Profi are something that 20 years ago, as a kid, when Revenge of the Sith was coming out, I would have gone bananas over. Like Star Wars fans would have loved it. Make like I don't care. I just turned 30 and I still love Star Wars, but seeing those blade styles and how they imitate how they're on the screen, as well as seeing from Star Wars Visions, it's like a dream come true. And Profi has really made me grateful for getting all the sabers that I've gotten.
mhm,
And recently, phase and but I'm not sure when phase 3 of his Profi OS library will come out. But one of the newest blade styles that Fet263 has created is actually based off of the kyber corruption that happens in the final episode of the Acolyte. If you haven't seen it, spoilers. I don't care. It's closing in on it. It's out there. So yeah, but basically, it literally it's a perfect like representation of the kyber corruption that where it goes from blue to red, and it's just unbelievable. And you could be able to pick, and that blade style, even though it's not available to the public yet, you can always pick it up on Patreon by subscribing to Fet263's Patreon, or you can also grab the blade style by purchasing from Juan Sith or Kyberphonics's font. Specifically for Juan Sith, it's Osha Anasea's Soundfont. And
mhm,
with Juan Sith, there's actually two blade styles for the Kyber corruption. There's the one that Fet263 did, and there's another one by a guy called Stefan Cortosis. I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that name, but he does it where instead of where you, I'm just going to use my 2007 ANH, which is this is an original master replicas, by the way, from 2007, one of the last ones that were built. But basically, usually when you do it, you press the button and twist it to activate the blade style, which is
mhm.
in the episode it ignites, and then after a few seconds it and changes color. But there's another one where he created it where it sorry, I'm at a loss for words here. Where you press the force ignition effect and it changes color when after the lightsaber is activated. In fact, in the comments, give me a second if I could find it. Da, 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 da,
Sure.
da. I could actually copy and paste because Stefan Cortosis's is actually it's open source. So if you want,
Right.
you can go in and basically just just edit it however you want. So um,
Mhm.
where do I put it? Just in comments. All right, there we go. Oh, I gotta connect my account.
Titan.
Okay. Yep. Give me a second.
Titan. Is that a Profi saber that you have, Titan? Or what kind of board do you have that is saying? Because if
Oh, I cannot paste
Oh, it
because
is the property. Okay.
okay. Well, look, basically, just let me see if I can find the where it is. Okay, Profi blade styles. Hey, babe, this is one of those things where I just wish. Okay, here we are. Okay, Acolyte, bingo. All right, here we are. Paste bin, as I said, it's actually on paste bin. So it's that's why it's open source. There we
Mm-hmm.
go.
Paste
And
bin.
there we go. Yep. Yeah. So there it is. I put it in the chat. So hopefully you can, people, if you want to scroll through, find it. But basically, the standard default is blue to red. However, if you
Mm-hmm.
put it into the config helper on FET263 site, you can change it to any different color you want. I was, with a little help from someone, I was able, from Brian Connor, I was able to change it from blue to red to yellow to red for Dagongera's lightsaber font.
No, I
Yeah,
love that. That Garros, Saber font.
yeah.
Um,
And and
and
the neat thing and the neat
go
thing
ahead.
about and the neat thing about the Kyber corruption thing is that if you have an Anakin Skywalker lightsaber, whether it's an Aniflex, AS3, uh, anything like that, and you have the the Tano's Lessons by Juan Sith or Scattervergence by by Kyber Phonics, basically the sound font from that Anakin has from the Ahsoka series. You can use that. You can use that Kyber. You can use the Kyber corruption Profi style, and basically put it for Anakin, because I actually did a small recording of that particular saber a few months ago with this saber,
Mm.
and for the hum, I used it. I put a Darth Vader breathing hum. Chills, man, absolute
Oh,
chills.
okay.
But
Awesome. Let
the thing about,
let me
sorry, I don't
go
want to
ahead.
take up your time. This is
No,
your
no,
show,
no,
not
no.
mine.
That's okay. No, we're gonna go back to that, but I want to address Titan's question here because he says that I have a saber that worked great for a while, but the one day that didn't say it didn't work, saying that art directory not found. Is
Oh,
that a
font
problem?
directory. All right, I can actually answer that for you, Titan. So what you're going to want to do is, uh, first off, you gotta find out what font exactly that it said, and you have to find whatever font it was that said font directory not found. And once you find that, you go into the files on your saber and make sure that they are either numbered correctly or spelt correctly. That's what we'll get it off of it. Otherwise, um, so you just got to make sure you have them numbered and spelled correctly. And once you figure that out, you should be fine. But these sort of things, happen, like a slip of the keys, the keyboard when you're typing something in, like that's it. Just it happens. So hopefully it's just a small, like, just error, but otherwise you should be fine.
See, something small like that can make a font go wonky, man. No matter, I mean, it'll work for 1 minute to the next, and then if it gets corrupted in any way or something gets missed or something like that, it just won't work properly. And that's what we're trying to get at is
Yeah.
that whether it's whether it's user error or like one of the things that I found with some of the fonts that I have, and I had downloaded some new fonts and I was getting ready to play with them. I was all interested. I had seen the videos. They're supposed to have these badass quotes. They're supposed to have these badass blasters and this and that. I put them on the saber. No quotes, no blasters, just certain things. They just weren't. I mean, it worked, but it didn't have any of the quotes, and it didn't have this, and it didn't have that. And I was saying, okay, let me go in there and let me see what's wrong. Well, it turns out that when I watched some of these other videos, and it said, okay, like I said, I'm gonna take the golden harvest, and as you're going like 1, 2, 3, 4, sound 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then in the programming, um, where it has, let's say you have boot, and then you have boot 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Well, in the config stuff, instead of it having a just a plain zero for the start of where the fonts are, it said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whereas the number one should have never had a number one in itself by itself. It should have just been, the font and then 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Mm.
And so little mistakes like that sometimes, and like I said, it doesn't. It may have been an error in transferring the files and this and that, or any little thing that can happen will kind of dissuade and have such an impact on your sound fonts that they may not work correctly. So that's why you have to go in there, go into your config and check, because even just a one little wrong number will mess it up, and you can be like, hey, I did this. I paid for this font. It's not working correctly. What's going on? So, in the end, you've also got to really kind of look at the fonts yourself and be aware of how the font system goes, because a lot of times, some of the font makers may not have time to get back with you at that point in time, and you can email them and they'll get back with you. But meanwhile, you're sitting there frustrated and not being able to kind of play around with it.
Yeah,
Um,
I
so,
mean, look, and you're right, Mundo. And with the font makers that make these, it's a lot of work, and it takes hours upon hours to make these files. And not only that, but to also get them converted to the proper ones. Which thankfully I have to get a shout out to Brian Connor and his Soundfont generator converter, because converting over from Profi to Xeno to SNV4 and all those whatnot, it's a pain, but when you're not able to mass convert it. But thankfully, that converter has definitely made things a lot easier for a lot of people. But and plus, and back to the font makers, these guys, they're just like you and me. They have lives outside of the Saber community. They have jobs. They've
mhm.
got families, and when they're not able to get to you that quickly, it's because they've got their own thing to do. And honest, and they and but the love and effort that they put into the community is incredible. So I think the very least we can do in when you're frustrated in those situations is just take a step back, take a deep breath, and you'll hear back from them. They'll troubleshoot the problem, and it could be just a simple clerical error.
and that's all it is. And especially when you're putting the fonts, you purchase a font, and if you're not going to put the fonts on, if you don't have an installer to put the fonts on yourself, and to put the fonts on there for you, and you're doing the fonts yourself, then just kind of make sure that you kind of know what you're doing, because even though it may be as simple as you know, drag and drop on there, you still have to do your due diligence and find out and make sure that everything is properly labeled, everything is in its order, uh, properly named, no hyphen, no this, no that. And oh, you're welcome, Charlie. and and just make sure that when you're going into the config system, if you got a boot and then you have like 3 or 4 boots, you make sure that that number one boot is doesn't have any number associated with it, and then so you're gonna have, and this is for the CFX and the Golden Harvest mostly, because I'm not real familiar with the Profi, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, ultimately I think it might be kind of the same with the Profi. I'm not sure, but when um, when you have those files, and like I said, you have 2 or 3 boots on there, It has boot, dot wave, and then boot two, three, four, five.
Mhm.
However many boots you have. Um, Same thing with the certain quotes on there. If you're gonna put quotes on there, and then let's say it says force zero, force dot wave, force two, three, four, five, six. If you see a one on there where it's not where it's supposed to be the first one, normally you don't put a one right there. I've watched so many videos stating that um, when that file is like that, it's not supposed to have the very first one is not supposed to have a number. No zero, no number one. It's just a straight force dot wave and then force two, three, four, five, six.
Mhm.
And this is the file system for the CFX and the Golden Harvest. And and it'll tell you that and I find that sometimes even though they say not to numerate something, if I think in fact that the font maker has put a number associated with it, uh, sometimes I've seen where it'll say CFX and GH3. Uh, Sometimes you have to add that GH3 on there to make it work properly because it's associated with that file system. And if you leave it out, it may interfere with it working properly. So you do have to check things and make sure that if let's say I'm going to use an Anakin sound font for example, okay, and on there the Anakin font and it for CFX and Golden Harvest, right? And so I'll go under Golden Harvest. That's what it's for, and then I put on there, but it says Annie dash GH3, right? And I decide, okay, I'm gonna put it on there. I put my cell phone on my Saber, but all I did was put Annie. I didn't put GH3 after it. I go to turn it on, and it works, but it's not working with everything that it should work with.
Mhm.
And so what I may have to do is go back, take it off, or go back and put GH3 on there because that could be associated with the whole file completely. So you do have to kind of play around with things like that sometimes and make sure that it is properly labeled. Um, because you may get it to work, but it won't work properly.
Well, and I think it's
Right?
also good. It's also a good habit to back up the files that you originally get, especially when you have the original files that you get with your Saber. But um, also keep the text, whatever text files you get that have the drop link to the fonts and so on and so forth,
Mm.
because that can be really helpful.
That's what I like to do because when I get a new sound font, no matter whose it is, I got files of the sound font makers, and then what I'll do is I'll put um, all the original files together, and then I'll do an extract file and put it right down below it. But if I ever have any problems, I can always go back to the original file and extract it again, and it'll be like a brand new, font. Because if one gets corrupted, I've got all I've got to do is unzip it again and extract everything that I need to replace that corrupted file. So you want
Hmm.
to make sure that you keep your files, like I said, and I don't, and you don't have to do this. This is just something that I do because I like to have make sure that every font maker that I have, I like to keep them in their own folders, and then I can pick and choose which fonts that I'm going with at that time. And I know that they have the original fonts files in there, along with the extracted file that I'm going to put on the Saber. So if anything goes wrong, I have two copies of each, one extracted and one of the original file.
Hmm.
And and I can play around with all of the extracted files anytime I want and not have to worry about the original file because if I screw up the extracted one, I can always get another one and extract the main one again over and over again until I get what I'm looking for out of it.
Yeah.
So, but the main thing, like I said, is try to make sure that you have everything. Go through all your font, make sure everything works, what you're supposed to have in your font, and not only that, but even the font makers themselves tell you, hey, test everything, make sure everything is what it's supposed to do before you put it on your saber. And then when you put it on your saber, if something doesn't work, then there's something that you've got to kind of fix. And um, that because like I said, you can put the sound font on there and you have these blasters that are working fine, and then all of a sudden they're not working. But then again, we also have that there could be a battery issue. If you have a low battery, your fonts may not work properly. It'll
Yeah.
it'll cut out, and
Um,
or it'll make your font sound kind of wonky, and you're like, oh crap,
yeah.
So make
One thing that you need to do whenever you get a saber, regardless if it's an LED, if it's an RPG LED, a Xenopixel, Profi, whatever, be sure and charge it when you get the saber. Sure, you can turn it on briefly just to check and see if it boots up and whatnot, but after that, take out the battery and charge it. I mean, I'm basically doing the same, telling you the same thing that Corbanth sabers would say when in their saber videos. So yeah,
Mhm.
charge your battery till it's 100%. That way you don't get any issues. And yeah, and also be sure plus to plus, minus to minus. It's pretty simple, people.
You'd be
uh,
surprised, man. Some
oh,
people
I
just
know,
like,
I know,
and
I know.
it's like, yeah, some people just like they're so in a hurry to get things done that they don't pay attention. You put your battery in backwards, and there you go. You fried everything.
Yeah,
Um, and I find it kind of comical though because you know what are some people rushing for that you put the battery? Yeah, and some people are like, it's funny because you're so in a hurry to show off your font, your saber, and everything, and it's like, dude, slow down. It's okay. Slow down. Take a look at where that battery orientation is gonna be, man.
yeah, exactly.
Um, and then again with the fonts, though, it's like some people will say, "Oh, I put all of these fonts on here," and you go through the fonts, and they're like, "Wait a minute, that one didn't go through. That one didn't go through." And I tell you, one of the things that I like to do, and like I said, when you're having trouble with them, one of the things that I like to do is I'll make a copy of my SD card with the list of fonts on there, and I'll go through my Saber, and when I'm turning it, and it goes to each different font, um, and I'm seeing it on my screen on my laptop right here. Okay, so I've got the Annie, then I've got Thundar, then I've got this, and I've got that. So as I'm turning my saber, I'm looking at my list and I'm going down my list. And if it skips a font, then I know there's something wrong with that font. And and then okay, so now I'm gonna have to go back and find out what's wrong with that font. Did I not name it properly? Did I not number it properly? Did I put a letter that's not right in there? Did I put a space? That's another thing. If you and sometimes it's kind of hard that when you're typing on there and you're naming your font, one simple little space can.
Wait, I think he froze. Did he freeze? Chat. He's frozen. I don't know. Well, I do a song and dance, but I'm sitting on a couch, so I can't really do that. uh, Uh,
Oh my God.
you
That
froze.
that is just crazy, man. I am
Oh.
so sorry for that. That is crazy. And I got
Uh,
myself on here too. Oh my God.
hey, it makes it all the more It makes it entertaining. There's got to be some entertainment in these streams, you
There
know.
has to be. There has to be. And I didn't expect for this to happen because these I get calls at all times and I wasn't expecting anything. Two Mundos, I know, dude. And then I and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna shut it off. I'm just gonna leave it like that. That's okay, dude. Both of me, two sides of me are talking. And
Yeah.
so, oh my
Um,
God, we're
I do
talking
want to
about.
say, I do want to say that with your experience when it comes to files not working properly, with Profi, it's sort of a little similar, but what you do with Profi is that you have a config file and you load the sound, and even if you load the sound fonts onto the Saber, they won't activate unless you run the config file through um, a command port where you type in your commands, like for example for the blade styles and whatnot. And I use Arduino IDE, and basically when you put in your sound fonts by name, and you have to make sure you get it right, otherwise it'll just say error in font directory, and basically it'll just say that. And you have to make sure that your config file can have enough memory space to hold the
Mhm.
blade styles. The latest Profi board, Profi 3.9, has much more memory than the V2. So when you get like custom fonts from like when you get fonts from uh, Grayscale or J DeLorean or even
Mhm.
Mountain Sabers, they you need to make sure that you have the memory to do it. Otherwise, you'll exceed the memory and the config won't load onto it. But one thing that I have found out is that if you want to switch between config files on one Saber, you can load all the sounds fonts you want as much as your SD card can hold. I have 30 sound. My SD cards are 32 gigabytes, which is a lot of memory, like a ton of memory. And basically, you can I could switch between custom fonts from KSith or custom fonts from BK Saber Sounds and so on and so forth.
Oh yeah. I mean that's the beauty of the sound fonts though too, that you can transfer any of your sound fonts to any saber. Um,
Yeah.
and like I said, and depending on the board that you're using, it depends also how they're gonna come out because um you when they're when they're made for profit, you more or less cannot use a profit board font for a CFX. You know,
No, no,
you
no, no.
can't use
We,
a Xeno board font for anything else
yeah, I
but a
know,
Xeno board.
and I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
that there's going to be someone out there making a rookie mistake like that, thinking, oh, it's universal. Which I wish it was universal. I would pay
Right?
money for it to be universal, but that's why we have people like Brian Connor who made the sound font converter, which helps
Mm.
enormously with these sort of problems.
Yeah, because I actually played around with that one time. Actually, um, I had a couple of fonts, from the Electrum Sabers, and and I took those fonts because they were supposed to be in uh able to be used on the Golden Carbon. But what I found was that they weren't actually compatible too much, right? Until later on, they fixed the issue. Um, Dave at Electrums, fixed that issue after a while. But
Yeah,
because I think they were incompatible at the time when the CFX came out and everything else, right? And it says the Profi 3.9, wondering what tutorial video would you recommend for a first-time user? I'm used to CFX for your information. Okay, so for the Profi tutorial, um, well, there is one, uh, and then if you PM me, I think I downloaded a video on a Profi and its uses and stuff, but there is quite a few out there that are pretty good. Um, I think there's about three, if I'm correct, that are pretty good Profi tutorials on YouTube. And then there's another guy who's been doing a tutorial, um, because Benji did a really good tutorial for the CFX, and he also did. He may have done one for Profi. I need to see. I need to go back and look at his videos again. But Nerf Herder Benji, um, he likes the Profi too. I think he likes the CFX a lot, but I think he can. I think he went to Profi more. So, uh, take a look at Benji Nerf Herders, and then let's see who else that might be good for CF. I mean, Profi. In terms of tutorials. Uh, Jesus, my brain is just going through a bunch of them, but there's not many that I see for Profi. A lot of it is CFX and Golden Harvest. Um, but like I said, and then if you pay me, I think I can find it. Or next show, I will write it down, and next show I will send it to you, um, and let you know. Um, but most of the tutorial videos I've seen are either Golden Harvest or CFX.
You just gotta do a good YouTube, very thorough YouTube search, and you'll find a few good ones.
Yeah, I've only seen very few good ones though. I mean, not many, not many at all.
I
Um,
mean, besides using Arduino, if you don't want to get into all the coding or whatnot of it, you could just leave whatever fonts that come with it and just not bother with the SD card, which is
mhm.
fine. I mean, some of the fonts they have are licensed from font makers, so they're pretty good on their own merit.
Now I have dabbled a little bit in the Profi because I do have a 1.5 Profi that I have not really just. I started wiring it up a little bit because the Space Windu, the one that is from Civilized Sabers, he sent me a Profi 1.5 a long time ago, and I
Wait,
just
a
haven't messed.
V1. Wait, a V1.5 board?
Yeah.
That's Yeah, that thing is old, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, that thing, dude. You need to get an upgrade. Like, oh my, yeah. Okay, yeah. Never named. Nerf Herder is a very good is a really established installer and sabersmith. He's definitely check out his videos. Definitely.
Oh yeah, he does really good. He's also done some excellent videos on who what companies to go through and who not to. Lando Sabers, he's not around anymore, but he has a very good video on who to go to, who not to go to, in terms of certain companies and stuff like that. Uh, however, you know, going through all these YouTube videos, and anybody watching this one too, I mean, you can learn a lot, but you won't learn everything. You have to do your due diligence and do a little bit of homework. If you've seen the Lando one, um, it's a little hard to follow. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, not too bad, but even Shamim has done some wonderful videos,
Yeah,
and he,
I just saw him release a video today of his Anakin AOTC ROTS hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to mention that.
Oh yeah, no, no, that's all right, man. What the hell's going on with this thing? Oh my God. Ugh. For some reason, this. So, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, it's kind of weird. This earbud just went dead, and this one's still up. So, technical difficulties. Only on a live video can you experience technical difficulties, right?
It makes things more
But
interesting.
I always tell, yeah, I always tell people, hey, chat, what's up, dude? I always tell people you can't edit live. So, you get when you're here at the Mundo show, Saber Talk, yeah, you get what it is. It's raw, unfiltered. I mean, you're here to have a good time. We're gonna have a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've just have to watch it a few times and just like yeah. I mean, everything's like that, and then everything's like that, dude.
yeah, yeah. There's actually one thing
So,
I wanted to mention. So I actually was having an issue. I'm having an issue with one of my SD cards. Actually, it involves the common folder. To those of you who don't know, there is a folder when using Profi that has all the basic commands that go through the Profi board, like what it says when you're in volume control, when you come out of it, like selecting a preset font and whatnot. And for some reason, for the weirdest of reasons, it won't say it won't it, the UI won't work when it's on the first font. If I may give an example, I'm just unplugging my headphones to show you. So basically, I'm going to use my. This looks like this is an Electrum Sabercraft Dark Saber, but it was hollowed out and it can fit a Xeno board. So basically,
wow.
just watch. So I turn it on. So it's on the third font right now. So I'll put it to the first one.
Select preset. The dark saber. It belongs to you.
So it's on the font now. But when I turn it off, for example, if I want to hear the battery, I press it 2 times third. Yeah, all it does is just do a flash. And when I want to change the font, I have to hold it down.
The dark saber. It belongs to you.
Yeah, see, it doesn't speak. The UI doesn't speak when I put it back to the first font. So my theory is it's probably an issue with the soundboard, not the soundboard, but with the sounds in the common folder. I've been meaning to connect with Brian Connor about that because the UI sound fonts are his. By the way, if you have Profi or if you have a CFX Profi or a Golden Harvest board, Brian Connor has created user interface folders for each. So basically, for example, you have a dark saber and you want it to sound like the Mandalorian is using it, or if you have a Mace Windu saber and you want it to sound like Samuel L. Jackson, you can just drag and drop your comments, drag and drop those files into your saber. Yeah, but yeah, I'm just trying to. I gotta talk with. I gotta reach out to Brian Connor and ask him about it because maybe it's an issue because it's an older UI sound. But I just wanted to share that.
See, and that brings another point to it. Uh, just because that not only could it be end user fault, but just because it could also be there's something within the file system that's just not right. Or like you say, maybe the degradation of the file itself that
Mm,
could be happening. So that's and a lot of people may not understand that files can be easily corrupted, especially if when you're transferring a file from one place to another. Uh, you could just be transferring from your laptop into your Saber, or from your Saber to your laptop, and within that process, it could get corrupted. And
yeah,
uh, and even if it's just one little piece of that file, it could mess it up. So there's a slew of problems that could happen with your sound fonts. And like I said, there's not any one point where it's anybody's fault. Uh, and it possibly could be, but it couldn't be. I mean, there's so many factors involved in a font going wrong that you just have to play around with it to see, what's going on within the file system, what's going on with how you put it on there. You know, so many things can just make a sound font go wonky. And again, uh, check your battery because at times your battery could be too low and it's just not making the saber go right. So
yeah,
it's kind of like a trial and error thing. Go through all these different steps so that when you actually have that real problem with it, then you'll be able to kind of diagnose it before you really have to go and talk to the saber font maker themselves. But and when you get to the point where you go and talk to the font maker themselves, though, they can really help you because that's what they do. They can really help you diagnose. Okay, did you do this, and do that, and then see if that works. If that doesn't work, then we're gonna try step B and C, and we'll get to if we need to, and more or less than none, we may not need to, but step D, and at step D, if we can't get it, then we'll just get a new file and go from there. You know,
yeah.
it'll be the easiest thing to do. But more or less, I mean, it's a trial and process over and over again. I mean, but sometimes the simplest thing is the best thing to do,
Hmm.
and 90% of the things associated with your font problems are the smallest things, which is more or less sometimes more often than not, I see the battery issue come up a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else have you got, Mundo? I'm the guest here.
Oh, we got anything. I don't know. Do you saber wise? What is your favorite? You said Profi, right? But and you
Yeah,
have not.
I would say my favorite board to use right now is Profi. And if I have a fallback, it's going to be Xeno because that's the one that I've grown familiar with. And SNV4 from TXQ Sabers is good, but I feel like knowing one particular brand just helps and just simple.
Right, right. Now, how is the Xeno board different from the rest of them?
Xeno, well, TXQ and Nexus are both separate companies, but it all depends on the app user, the user interface with the app. Um, and there have been issues in the past where connectivity isn't as good, but it makes sense. I mean, you're connecting with a soundboard through Bluetooth, so
Uh-huh.
it can be a little difficult, but ultimately it's a good starting app. It's a good starting soundboard for anyone getting into. Does the different boards affects how the lightsaber font sound? Yes and no. I would say, like for example, with Xeno, there are different like activation pods. Like there's a Predator, there's like Stargate, the Scions, like or something like that. They're just different activation preons. Meanwhile, with Profi, you have to program the preon blade effects. Profi is a lot more hands-on when it comes to the coding and what exactly is being coded into.
Yeah, and I don't think that I don't think the difference of the boards make that much difference in the sound fonts. What's really going to be the difference in the sound fonts is basically your your speakers and your the amount of oh shoot, what do you call it? The amount of space that you have in here for your speaker between the speaker and the end of your venting.
Yeah,
um, you know, a lot of it also has to do um, the quality of your speakers on top of you know that type of stuff as well, right? Because
yeah,
the boards, all the boards are going to do is just say they're just reading what the sound fonts are meant to do. Because if you turn on a board, you don't have a speaker, you don't have a sound font. So the
yeah.
quality of the speaker is
It's just a
really going to
circuit
make a
board.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, my master replicas 2007. Like one of the things that that if those remember back in the day that these things were chunky thick. So, but that means when you have it custom installed, it means the speaker can be a lot bigger.
What a piece of junk.
Like you all could hear that, like that's loud. It's loud even
That's
without the pommel on, but it's loud with the pommel on even. So let's just see, just for as an
and
example.
what speaker do you have in there?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can tell you that. By the way, the installer that installed this was Light Blue Sabers. He's not he's a sound he's a installer that's on Etsy. He gave me a really good price on this. It was
Uh-huh.
but basically just listen. Like you can
Oh
hear
my
that,
God.
right? It's
Yeah.
loud, huh?
That, that's just amazing. God, that's loud.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's the same with my Darth Vader hilt, and it's going to be the same with my MR Anakin and Yoda that I just sent in to get installed. So there are pros and cons to when it comes to the batteries, like
Uh-huh.
and also with like the size of the sabers. Like for example, sabers that you have nowadays, LGT, TXQ, KR, they are thin, but it's all about the size of the speaker and the sound ventilation.
Yeah,
And
the sound ventilation really makes a difference because if you don't have proper ventilation in there, you know,
it sounds muffled.
your sound, yeah, very muffled. I mean,
There is there is actually a technique that I saw on there's a technique I saw from a guy on one of the community boards where it's sort of like a saber hack. What he did was he took some electrical tape and put it and surrounded it around the bottom where the speaker is on a TXQ or a Xenopixel core. And from what I understand, from what he said, that it insulates the sound a lot better. I wish I could. Let me see if I can. Is there a? Can I share my screen?
yeah, yeah, go for it.
All right, give me a second. Allow. Okay, give me a second. Entire screen. Okay, there we go. All right, it's right here. See, if you look right here, what he does is he puts electrical tape around where the speaker hub is, so that way it insulates the sound. So instead of the sound going out and down, it simply just goes down. through the speaker port right here. And
Uh-huh.
honestly, it's it's actually a really incredible saber hack. I would, and like he says in there, don't use it if you don't have space in between
Yeah.
where the speaker goes and where the end where the pommel is. But it's pretty incredible that this sort of thing, you come across these little hacks that helps.
Right. And Albert from Smugglers has, I think, an excellent speaker. I mean,
Oh yeah, a
he's just
speaker cap
like,
for outside speakers, especially if you have a Nexus cores and whatnot.
oh yeah. I mean, Smugglers. I've been using a lot of Smugglers um,
Yeah.
speakers in my Sabers, and man, they are loud and
Yeah.
clear.
I actually saw something from Dimitri the other day, a couple of weeks ago, where he's working on a Bluetooth speaker system where you can hook up a Bluetooth speaker, a Bluetooth connector to your Saber, and you attach it to a Bluetooth transmitter, and you can plug that transmitter into, like, for example, a JBL speaker or a small like little portable speaker, and you can basically play your lightsaber even louder than what it has on the speakers.
Have you checked out the Jedi Arms Dealer stuff?
Jedi what?
Jedi Arms Dealer?
I have not. Can you send me a link on that?
Yeah, I'll send you a link to his stuff. I'll have to find it, but man, he's got some awesome, awesome stuff, dude. He made a whole saber out of acrylic, right?
Oh, okay.
And then not only that, but he actually made some modules, and he was able, and he does that kind of stuff, just like Dimitri's trying to do. But he's actually done that where he's hooked up his saber to his car, and he used
Oh my
he used
god.
the car speakers. He used the car speakers, and you could hear him while he's swinging the saber around from the car speakers. Man,
I
it's
mean, I
freaking
get
amazing,
I get
amazing.
why I get the appeal, but like you can't fit your car into a convention. I mean, maybe the parking lot, but like
No, but
I,
that's so cool, man. I mean, you're swinging your saber, but your car is making all the sound of the saber, man. I
I
mean,
mean,
that's amazing.
yeah, it is definitely that's definitely one way to get attention. But I mean, the cool thing about the speaker system that Dimitri Stock has created is that one of the things that I have noticed is when you play, like, for example, a soundtrack that you have on your Saber, it can sometimes get muffled, or it can muffle the sound of the actual Saber, like the hum and whatnot. In
Oh
this
yeah,
case, the sound would not only be more clear, but it would also be more just, yeah.
that's cool. And then, yeah, that the sound quality really, I think that's one of the most important aspects of Soundfont sounds is the quality of your speaker, uh, and more or less the quality of your wiring too, because
Mhm.
if you have cold joints, that can also affect your sounds. Because if you don't have good joints at all, you're not going to get that good that good juice going through there, and that could really affect it. It's just the same. So, along with speaker quality, your wiring quality, and and then the sound font quality. The sound font itself, the quality of that sound font, which most sound font makers these days are just on top of their game. You know, no matter who they are, uh, good quality sound fonts, and you know you should be golden with sound fonts with those three aspects of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the question, and then the board really doesn't matter as far as the sound font goes for the sound. Um, you know, because the board just tells it what to do. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just want to say that when it comes to sound fonts, one of my favorite font makers is a guy called Juan Sith, who I mentioned earlier. He's on Saberfont. In addition, he not only he takes for the sounds that he does from in canon Star Wars characters, he mostly gets them from the sound bites exactly. So they're just all sorry, I'm just they're mostly just they're mostly the exact sounds. But he has done what he's also well known for is his incredible custom sounds, custom fonts. Like, I mean, for
Mm.
example, he's done a sound font based off of the Gladiator movie. He's done a Call of Duty font. Yeah, and the off sound is the tactical nuke sound from Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah,
He's
he
done
does some amazing work. As a matter of fact, I tried to get him on tonight with us, but he wasn't home.
really?
So
Oh wow! Well, next time
yeah,
we definitely got to do that because I would love to talk with him face to face in some form or another. Seriously, but one of
yeah, he said another time he'd come on.
I've actually so of the sound. My first commission I did with him was actually based off of the Radio Demon Alistair from Has Been Hotel. And to those of you who like are like have been in the Saber community since like 2020, 2019, there was a font called the Radio Demon by a guy called Link, who ended up selling
Yeah.
all his fonts to Nexus and whatnot. It's no longer available, but
Huh?
I got we basically created a whole new he created a whole new font based off of that, and it's incredible. And he's actually working on another one right now for a commission I just submitted based off of Kirito's lightsaber from the second season of Sword Art Online. So if you have that saber, yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be fun. And
No, I wish I had that font though. I was like, damn it,
well, I mean,
because I had tried to buy some fonts.
well, I mean, the cool thing is that that saber is it's more widely produced by Nexus. It used to be only like available by like Elf Sabers or something, and you had to really like look for it. But I'm
Uh-huh.
just glad that it's now like fully available. But when it comes to fonts sounding really good, it's just Juan Sif just does incredible work. The first the collab that I first did with him was different from a commission. Was based off of Five Nights at Freddy's. So
Uh-huh.
and it's actually still a work in progress because recently during Halloween we updated it where we included the characters from FNAF 2, FNAF 4, and a few others. But the thing is that the problem is with that font is that we have to create font names for when we twist into the characters. So
Uh-huh.
I'm probably going to have to create like a font name for Nightmare Freddy or Nightmare Chica. It's like Nightmare, like I'm ready or something like that. But we also did we did two types of Springtrap from the video game and from the movie with Matthew Lilliard's voice. And I guarantee that by the end of this year, when FNAF 2 comes out in theaters, we're probably gonna have to make a whole new like voice line for if they actually do show Springtrap. Like
Oh man,
story.
I just bought the health cycle from Blue Mamba.
Oh yeah, Ghost Rider. That's crazy. And I was kind of hoping that he would have made a custom blade style for Profi, but
Uh-huh.
I look forward to just making a flame style, just like rev engines. Like, oh
And
my god!
his scrap tie font is really good too.
You mean Wait, Scrap Knight? You mean like
Scrap tie. His he did the Hell Cycle and the Scrap tie.
Oh,
Not
Scrap
too.
Tie. I thought you said Scrap Knight. Yeah,
No.
Scrap Tie was a collab he did with Kyberphonic, and Kyberphonic did his own Tie Fighter font. But I held off on getting that because there are so many Tie Fighter fonts out there. Mountain Sabers, Juan Sith. Just it's like the thing I love about sound fonts is that there are so many that have the same title, but they're all different because of the different sounds and whatnot. Like there are so
Right.
many horns, there's so many Kylo Rens, and they
Yeah.
all sound very similar, but it's the subtle sounds within each sound font that you have to pick up on.
Right. And
Yeah,
that's why you have to kind of listen to them closely so you can see hear those differences. And
yeah.
they'd be very hard to catch those subtleness, but definitely the
Another,
unique stuff.
yeah, another sound font maker named Weapons. Hold on, it's called another sound font maker called Weapon Master Sounds. He's on Etsy. His trademark is actually the sound fonts from the Clone Wars 2003 miniseries, and he created several different ones. Most notably, he's done a version of General Grievous's, Anakin Skywalker, Shaggy. You know the Shaggy Rogers looking character from who just gets just face pummeled by Grievous in the final High.
Yeah.
But and the sounds are great, but the problem is that with the soundtrack, because there was never a fully released soundtrack from for Star Wars Clone Wars 2003. The closest thing we
Right.
have to soundtracks are the soundtrack menu. But
Mm.
my hope is, but the thing coming back to Profi, if you've all seen, Clone Wars 2003, you see the scene where Anakin is fighting Asajj Ventress on Yavin, and it starts to rain. Well, in Profi, you can make you are able to make put a setting where when you twist your saber while it's on, it will activate rain and thunder sounds, and like there's rain falling on your saber, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's just amazing stuff that you can do and hear and listen to these days with these
Yeah,
sound fonts. It's just amazing, and it amazes me how much variety there is. Right?
the
Um,
variety is definitely.
Black
I have a friend.
lightsabers too.
I have a friend who's a big Sailor Moon player, and I tried to convince her to get the Sailor Moon lightsaber wand, and she's like, "No," but it's like $200 like used, and I'm like, "But it's Sailor Moon." It's like, yes, but I still don't want it. Like, it
I have
actually
a
comes.
friend. I have a friend. She's real big into Sailor Moon too, right?
Yeah,
And
there's
and
actually in Profi and Xeno, the Sailor Moon font comes default called Rainbow.
uh-huh.
So yeah, so yeah, get your inner anime girl on with that.
Man, these days, one of my favorite fonts though um is actually from Fours, which is uh the parody of Star Wars. Was it Spaceballs? The
Yeah,
Spaceballs font.
yep. There are a lot of Spaceballs fonts out there.
Oh, okay. And one didn't one Sith do one too?
What? Yeah,
Didn't one Sith do one too?
Juan said to do one. Yep, yep.
I need to get his because I know his is a little different from Fours, and I need to get his because I want to have both of them. I want to have two different sabers with the two different sound fonts from the
Yeah,
same movie,
yeah.
and I find
That's
it
another thing.
hilarious.
That's another thing
Hilarious.
that's good. that's good about having multiple versions of different fonts is because one doesn't have the other. Like for example, for example, like when you look at the version that Kyberphonics did with the Ahsoka series, like
Uh-huh.
okay, let me pull up for example the difference between his Casis Artistic Eye and Juan Sith's Rep and Juan Sith's I'm scrolling and I'm finding it. Spectre 5. There's a difference between the two, and I actually ended up going with with Kyberphonics' version because the blaster sounds sound like they're hitting Beskar.
Uh-huh. Wow. That's cool.
It's like I said, it's the subtlety. It's the subtle things.
Yeah. That is just awesome. Just to hear subtle things like that, hitting Beskar, and see in little things like that can make or break a font too. Just
Yeah.
just depending on what you're trying to do for it. But
Yeah. In fact, I can play you. I'll play you what it sounds like. A second.
sure,
Okay.
of course.
Blaster. Yeah. I organize mine really well. So here's from Spectre 5. You can hear that, right? At the end, the ting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the little
And
those
you
subtle.
said that one's from Cyberphonic, right?
Yeah. Spectre 5.
Spectre 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That is crazy. Now, one of the font makers that I've been trying to get a hold of, and I haven't been able to, because I don't know if he's still in it or not, is Jedi FX.
Jedi FX. Yeah, it's. I think I know who you're talking about. He's
His
on
name is Jan, I believe.
Jedi FX. Yep, he's on Saber Font, and it doesn't look like he is. He looks like he had some of his stuff has been optimized for Plector Labs,
Yeah.
but and it looks like he did have a CSX font for it, but the problem is that some of these guys they're never updated their stuff. Like
Right.
for example, he does have one called Darth Z, which is a Darth Xana based font,
Uh-huh.
and from what I understand, it's CFX. And I actually, even though I use Profi, I do bookmark ones that are done for CFX, so that I'll just buy them and convert them to Profi.
Right. Yeah. That's a really good idea because if you can convert them back and forth,
Yeah,
excuse me,
but
that is that's really worth it because then you're really saving a lot of money that way, being
yeah.
able to convert. But
By the
uh,
way, when you said that you bought a sound font off of Electrum, the guy the sound fonts that they have is actually Lord Blako's, and he's on sound
right,
font.
right, yeah, Lord Blanco, and he hasn't been around in a while either. I think.
Yeah, from what I don't well basically I've from what I've heard, there were a bunch of like OGs back in the day that sort of have a disagreement with some of the newer guys like Kyberphonic and Cases. And I could be wrong about this, so please do not take my words at face value. But from what I understand, there was like something about selling out or something. But the like some of the guys like Syndicate Custom Relics and and just and who else and Lord Reaver, like they they are some of the first people that made their way onto the scene and basically carved the path. And from what I hear with Lord Blako is that he was like he like let the fame get to his head or something. I really hope that is not. And like I said, this is just what I've heard off of secondhand knowledge. I really hope he doesn't see this and come after me. But like basically, it's just sort of things is that it's all about the community in the end. And the last thing you want is the toxicity between font makers to just ruin the thing that makes lightsabers in Star Wars special for all of us.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, there should be some cohesiveness with everybody,
Yeah,
and if there's a problem, try to talk it out. If you can't, you can't. And I understand. Sorry, man. I just got some a lot of dust in here. Allergies are killing me. Um, not everybody's gonna get along, and but at some point you do have to be professional about things, whether you get along or not.
yeah,
And especially if it's a business type thing. But you got to make sure that you do people right too, regardless.
yeah, exactly.
Uh, and so, but for the most part, you know, in the end, it's a love of the hobby, and we should all be, get together and help each other out as much as possible. Now, whatever happened between them, I have no say so in anything because I get along with everybody and I wouldn't take anybody's side. Um, because what's between them is what's between them. What I want to enjoy is what effort they put into making this hobby so good, and uh, it's unfortunate that things like that happen. However, if you do be professional and we get some great sound fonts out of everything, then yeah, let's let's keep it going. Let's make this as happy place as we can get it because we got too much crap in this world already. Too much hate, too much work, too many problems in this world that there shouldn't be any real major problems within this community that
Yeah.
try to take us away from these problems.
Yeah. Like for example, you can hate the acolyte all you want, but you can't hate the combat choreography from some of the episodes, and you cannot hate the lightsabers,
Right.
even if they look like ultra sabers chunky thick.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Ultra sabers, man. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
funny.
speaking of the acolyte, Mundo, I'm not sure if you like keep an eye on like new saber releases, but over the holiday season, TXQ released their version of Ezra's third hilt,
Yeah.
um,
Oh
and
my
which
god.
it looks really good. And I actually have I own the Nexus version, which I actually like. It's pretty. It's really good, and the blade depth is pretty nice too, which makes it excellent for a medium sparring saber.
Uh huh.
Um, and actually, just last night, I saw that TXQ has released the SE, the special edition version of the Stranger's lightsaber.
Wow, that's pretty
So,
cool.
I mean, unlike the ones that we see by Nexus and by Shadowfoil props, this one it's probably not going to have the hilt detach and make a shoto, but
Uh
it's
huh.
still full. It's still the full-on hilt, and it looks pretty good for an SE version. And if you want, you can send it into a sabersmith like Nerf Herders or Solo Sabers and have it custom installed and even weathered to make it look like the actual prop.
Wow. Yeah. See, I want to learn all of the aspects of that type of stuff. John from Collector's Outpost has
Yeah,
excuse
John
me, a
Santos. Yeah,
really good.
that he's doing
He's
a
got
video.
a really of weathering. His weathering videos are really good.
Yeah,
You know, and I think eventually I'm gonna go back and rewatch those weathering videos and kind of learn how to weather myself. Um,
Yeah,
I I
if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna have to go to the to an outside pavilion and do it on concrete asphalt because I'm not doing that in my apartment. I do not want to damage anything.
right. Well, I have a garage, so I can put a table in here and kind of do it, in my garage and stuff. Uh, I've been working on a few MHS savers that I have.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm working on my second one, which is it is called the Balance. It is uh, a memory saver for my father, right?
Oh, nice. Wait, let me see.
And
Oh,
so this is,
wow.
excuse me,
Oh,
give me just a second here. Where is it? Jesus, I have. Oh, here it is. So I am working on and I just finished working on the button system for it, right? Um, Let me see. I'm gonna pull the body off right here so you can see the chassis.
oh, wow. Yeah, I know
And
that MHS sabers have come a long way,
oh
and
yeah, yeah. So here's the chassis that I painted, right?
wow.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Rich Sangillo, but Rich Sangillo prints out some amazing um, chassis, right?
I am not,
So
but I mean, there are so many installers out there, and 3D chassis prints have definitely become a much more common are becoming more common in the Sabre community. And recently, TXQ has released their own like cheap version, which is around $650 to $750, which is still expensive, but compared to what you see out there, it's much more affordable. But yeah, that's
right.
incredible. The crystal chamber looks incredible.
So yeah, I mean, Rich has just done incredible stuff. And when I started painting this, I have to laugh at myself because uh, when I looked at this and then I looked at a damn Duracell battery, I was like, "Holy crap! I just painted the damn Duracell battery for the chassis."
Ugh.
So it's really funny. So if you look at the colors of the Duracell battery, you're gonna see the chassis
Oh yeah,
color.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's copper tone and Duracell, copper and black. But yeah, it looks
Yeah,
really incredible, man. Seriously, wow.
and so if you see these micro buttons right here, but um I've got magnets right here glued on top of them, right? So if you look at
Yeah.
here, and I do my own custom clamp cards too, right? This one is just the one that I'm playing around with, but you'll see the magnets are right there. And if I set it, excuse me, I set it just right. I mean, it's just playing around, but let me straighten it up a little bit. But if you can see it, let me see. I might have to just pull that off, and then the it has a box one low profile on here. So let me put this down and get that set down right there. So the box one will sit right up here, right? And then of course the magnets you'll see right up in there.
Hmm.
And then later on, as you saw the magnets on this other system right here, uh, my other custom clamp card right here, and then you'll see eventually I'm gonna put those magnets on this clamp card, and you'll be able to see that like that, right?
Oh wow, yeah.
So then, and then I'll be able to push these down with the magnets pushing onto those buttons. So that'll be that. Are you still there?
Yeah, I did. I saw it. It's really
Okay.
impressive.
So let me see. Now I'm gonna put this a little bit. Now the emitter part is actually two emitters together.
Yeah, I noticed. It looks like you took like Uh, it looks like you took like the top of like a slanted sheath and like a Revan or something like that.
Yeah. So I just I thought about using just this one by itself, and I thought to myself, that's a little plain. So I started playing around with it,
Yeah, because if you
uh,
bring it up again, if you bring it up,
and I asked him
so bring it up,
to
like zoom out.
zoom out.
Yeah, yeah, zoom out. Yeah, I actually like how you added the top black part because it melts it in with in between with the body and the silver compartment there with the
Yeah, and
brass
it's got
compartment.
really the depth of it is just like this.
Mm.
So
That's a
forgive me if
civilized.
I sound kind of far away. These earbuds just shut off. So
Yeah, that's a civilized sabers blade, right?
I'm sorry.
That's a civilized sabers blade you got there, right?
Oh yeah, definitely,
Oh.
definitely.
Yeah,
Anthony,
I plan on getting a white one sometime in the future. I can't afford the TriStar or like Mega Pentastar blade, but the Dual Star should definitely fit my needs for what I'm
oh
doing.
yeah, and they're doing quality work too, because
Yeah,
Reese
208.
is actually amazing with his stuff.
Yeah.
His apprentice.
Mm.
And Reese is actually going to make me a blade as well, and I'm going to be very honored to get a blade made by him, you know. And it's just, and I also have to thank Anthony Space Window. Jesus, excuse me. About time for me to get off because the allergies are killing me. But Anthony has allowed me to do. Hey, Jim. uh, Anthony has allowed me to do, this show, you know, how I want. And without him, Saber Talk Sunday wouldn't be what it is. Because he started it out, with Gabe and Harris and himself. So if you go back to the beginning of Saber Talk, you'll see the three of them talking, and then you'll see the transition between uh, after Harris passed away, and then now to now, But I told Anthony I'm gonna do him right because eventually Jawa's Junkyard agreed to be on the show, so I'm gonna do a special show with Jawa's Junkyard on here.
Oh wow. Yeah, they make incredible hilts. I hope to get their Kare hilt based off from Star Wars Visions because that that's an amazing saber.
Their hilts are just absolutely incredible, and it's just I'm ecstatic to be talking with them too. So January 18th will be at 11 p.m. my time, Central Time, and it'll be for them. It'll be 6 p.m. for them over there on Saturday. So
Are you kidding me, dude?
the 19th.
On the 19th?
Yeah, it'll be the 19th for them, 18th for us here. So
Okay, so well, that's a little bit past my bedtime.
yeah, I try to do it a little bit earlier, but I don't want it because
No,
he
I fully
they work
understand.
on a Monday, and he was gonna adjust time to adjust his lunchtime, and I was like, no, I don't want to interfere with his work
Yeah, I
lunchtime.
mean,
So
it makes sense. I mean, they're down under on the other side of the world. I don't blame them for. I mean, you're making concessions already, so I completely understand.
yeah, and and anybody who's watching that, at that time later on, they can always, go back and watch the video and also go and uh, have questions or whatever later on too, Um, so, and anybody who watches tonight's video on Civilized Sabers, I'm always piggybacking on my channel on Instagram. at Mundo Cabrera 7007, right? Yeah, Jim. I got Jealous Junkyard, man. It's unbelievable. And I'm very honored to have them on. And make sure you guys, like and subscribe, Civilized Sabers, and to my channel as well. Give it a little bit of love if you know you don't have to. And I'm just saying that for my channel, uh, like I said, whatever you see here, you can see there. But there may be some content on my channel that you may not see here at Civilized Sabers. Um, in terms of the live broadcast, also that for anybody who doesn't know that Gabe, if you know who Gabe is, he tests all of Anthony's blades and stuff like that. Uh, and so there's a lot of quality control that goes into those blades from Civilized Sabers.
Mhm.
Uh, and you won't be disappointed in any of those blades. And do you have anything else to go say before we leave?
Honestly, no. I'm really thank you for having me on this show, and I really hope I can come on your show again as as like a third perspective because honestly, it this is a, I'm trying to grow. I have an Instagram, I have threads, and I'm trying to grow myself in the community and trying add my expertise and try and be helpful to those who are also starting out too. I mean, it's a process of learning just as much for me as it is for anyone else. So I would love to be back on another episode.
Oh, absolutely. And I always tell everybody who comes on and anybody who I invite to come on, and I want to encourage anybody to come on, whether they're noobs or not. It doesn't matter. If you're in the hobby, sorry guys, I really apologize.
Oh, thank you.
If you're in the hobby, whether you're new, whether you're pro, intermediate, doesn't matter. I want to encourage you guys to come on to the show. The more the better, and the more perspectives that we have, the better as well. When you have certain perspectives, whether it be intermediate, brand new, or a pro, it's all good. I mean, everybody's going to learn from different perspectives, different people, different ways of doing things. That is the whole point of Saber Talk. And again, I encourage everybody to come on if you want to come on. There's always going to be an invitation, never a have to. Okay.
I definitely can't make it to the to your Jowledge Junkyards thing. And actually, that weekend is there's a con happening where I'm at Chattacon in Chattanooga, and
Uh
by then I'm just going to be tired out from the day. So
huh.
yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. I wish I could go to more cons, but unfortunately, when you got a vehicle that keeps breaking down and taking your money, it's
Oh,
virtually impossible. But yeah, so again, like I was saying, that encourage everybody to come on. And thanks, Titan. I appreciate that, dude. And you're here every Sunday, man. And Jim, all you guys, Charlie. I mean, unbelievable people here with me. And again, anytime that I offer a link to come onto the show, it's if you can't make it, it's cool. If you can make it, that is a plus and awesome. And I understand because life gets away in the way of things, and uh, the way I feel is we're here to have fun and as much fun as possible. So yeah, uh, you're more than welcome to come on. So if I send you a link, man, come on to the show if you can. If you can't, it's understandable. So just look out for the links, man. I'll be sending you links for
Hey,
sure.
is there you have a YouTube channel for this? Do you like archive all your videos and whatnot? Because I would love to share this with the community.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go on either the Civilized Saber channel or my channel on Instagram at Mundo Cabrera 7007.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully I'll be able to be able to share this interview, because that would be it'd be really nice to get your name out there, and get my name out there too.
Absolutely. The more the merrier, man. The more the merrier. And like I said, uh, be looking out for the links and stuff. Like again, most of the time, Sundays at 8 p.m. Central, I'll be doing the show. But if need be, I can accommodate at times for a different day and a different show. So even though it's Saber Talk Sunday, I might do a Mundo Madness Monday. So we'll
Nice,
see
yeah.
how things go. I used to do the show on Mondays,
Yeah.
but then I
Well,
found out that a lot of people had a hard time coming onto the show as well on a Monday. So it was like, okay, let's move it to Sunday. Might be better, and see how that works out. But I'm just playing around with things, and like I said, I can accommodate here and there, and see how things go. How what I need to do is make sure that I accommodate my family first and foremost. So
of course, I fully
yeah.
understand that.
So, but at that time, every time everything else, man. So, all right. So be looking for the links when I send them to you, and if you can make it, great. If you can't, understandable. And to anybody again, I appreciate the love, the like, and subscribe, share if you will. Your choice. And be looking out. And if you do want to come on to the Saber Talk, um, give me a shout out, on Instagram or Facebook, and say, hey, Mundo, I want to be on. Hit me up. I'll send you a link. And we'll talk sabers. It'd be a lot of fun.
Mundo, thank you for
It'll
having
be
me
a lot of fun.
Mundo, thank you for having me on this. On Saber Talk. I really appreciate it. Look forward to the next time.
Oh, I do too, man. And again, I am so honored that you came on. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to the next conversation with you. And, maybe we can also, are you into comics as well?
Well, I mean, Star Wars, obviously, but I definitely love talking comics. I mean, I love talking different things.
Yeah.
I am multidimensional. I'm not just a Star Wars nerd.
Okay. Well, we can talk all things Star Wars as well. It doesn't
definitely.
matter. It doesn't matter. So at that point, we'll find some good stuff to talk about. Until next time, Mundo out, guys. Peace.